anyways, yeah, so we're gonna check out the Fat Electrician. He just put this one up 6 days ago, so it's been killing me not watching this the last 6 days. I still have yet to watch this video right here, the Fighting Preacher. This will probably be something we do on during the subathon, because that's like an hour and a half, and it's gonna be like a 3-hour fucking so long. It's gonna be so long. But anyways, we're going to do World War II Marines versus Convicts, the Battle of Alcatraz. Hello, Kura. How's it going? How you doing? How is it going?
I've been sitting on this topic for years, and I've just never had enough information to do a full video, but I finally managed to track down just enough, and I'm very excited. Today we're talking about the Battle of Alcatraz, that time in 1946 when Alcatraz Prison Island lost control of some of their inmates and they acquired firearms, and the guards couldn't handle the situation, so they went to the US government, and the US government was like, we've got an entire branch of the military that specializes in taking islands, actually.
Perhaps I could be of some assistance.
Ken, I know what you're thinking. There's no way that this happened. It's too perfect of a scenario. There's literally one prison island and it goes out of control, so they have to send in the one branch of the military that specializes in capturing islands. It sounds like the setup to an action movie. This isn't real life, but it is. And if you don't believe me, here's a bunch of newspapers from the time period.
Oh, this one's going to be good, and it's one of those, it seems too surreal to be real. It just feels like a movie, right? 100%.
Oh, I accidentally gave away the ending.
In the business, we call
Because
this
of-
foreshadowing.
Let's be real. If you watched any of my videos, you already knew that was the only possible.
He probably won't, just because this is specifically on this. Granted, Alcatraz, I mean, there's a lot of people who died at Alcatraz, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's spiritual presence there. Not good ones either. Oh, this one, yeah, I haven't watched it yet. So
Sitting in the Marine Corps when he wants something dead, broken, or pregnant, and that's just how this plays out. But historically speaking, there's more important things at play here, because if it wasn't for the Battle of Alcatraz, the Marine Corps as we know it today might not even exist, and we're going to get to it right after word from our sponsor. This video is brought to you by Supremacy.
It's not delete me.
Free-to-play
Not delete me.
online
Yeah,
PvP
okay.
military-based strategy game. The entire thing's based on a World War III type scenario where you get to pick your country and go to war with the rest of
I've
the
not
world.
done
You can
this,
forge alliances,
but
or
I
you
don't
can
play
just
a
go
lot of
solo
mobile
and try to take
games,
over the
and
whole
I'm
thing yourself.
only playing
They've just
over
introduced a new
because
shadow market,
this
which basically
is
the black
Nick's
market
video.
where you
I
do a
want
bunch
to
of
make sure
sketchy
he gets
illegal
the
stuff
ad
under the table
view
that's gonna
for it.
upset people
So
if they find out. And I'm not exaggerating when I say it's going to upset people.
no,
That's
I did
literally a function of the
see.
game. If you get caught, it can actually cause
I did see that it was.
civil unrest or damage
I
the
put it.
morale
I
of your
actually.
country.
It's in my
Unpopular opinion, they should
watch
probably
it
update it so
for
it
later.
increases
My
the morale
AIs
of the
for
American
later.
military if they get caught, because their unofficial motto is,
I
if
have
you're
yet
not
to watch
cheating,
it because
you're
I'm
not
like,
trying. I
I'm
mean,
going to
it's
save
never a
this
war
for a
crime
stream
the
day,
first time.
but
So if you want to give it a try, you can play with up to 99
but I already
other
know
people,
like
and it's available
today
on
is going to be
PC
one of
and mobile,
those like
and it's free.
I got
So if
a
you wanna
lot
check it
to
out, I'm gonna link
watch,
in the discount code down below. Let's get
and
back
I've
to the
got a
video.
lot of like. Let's put it this way: I have a lot of live videos I need to watch, and then I'm like, okay, cool. So I may have to just do a second react night here soon. But yes, I do have it. Like I saw, I was like, cool, sweet. Save for later. Like it's literally on. I can show you right here. Playlists. AI reacts. It's in here. Nope. It's literally right there. So I do have stuff. Like I still have something from Null. I have Hanjin. So I've got literally like I'm trying to put stuff in here so I remember to watch in there. Hey Z. All right. Back to what we were watching. Yeah. Yeah, it's really easy for me to get distracted and forget, but it's in my watch list, so don't worry. What's up, Jaded?
All right, our story begins in May of 1946. World War II has just ended, and with
Wish
the
the
ending of World War II, it has
pufferfish
brought about a
happy
huge
birthday,
conversation
everyone.
in politics and the military as
Don't worry,
how the
I've got
military
you,
should
Crow.
function
I've got
moving
you.
forward into the future, because World War II kind of turned all of the doctrines and warfare upside down on its head. You see, going into World War II, pretty much every
How are you
country
doing today,
and most
Jaded?
of the military strategists and tacticians all believed that the future of warfare was going to be battleships. Huge, massive, tough, heavy armored ships with massive guns that could just roll up to the enemy's coastline and shoot humongous rounds that
Yeah, that failed spectacularly. I mean, I don't think we even have we don't have an actual battleship anymore. We have like a lot of cruise. We have a lot of ships, but we don't have like an actual like what is class. No, we still have what like the Iowa class. The Iowa class is still battleships. They all haven't been retired yet. I don't think they have. Winding down. That's good to hear. Jaded, that's good to hear.
weighed thousands of pounds at the enemy from 30 miles away. But in practice, that's not really how it worked out, because what World War II proved was that aviation was the future, because aircraft carriers dominated the seas and massive bombing raids dominated the battlefield. Simply put, whoever has air superiority is
Like the
probably
Hawaii,
gonna win.
okay.
Because of that, in the wake of World War II, the United States government and the military is basically saying, okay, well, if
Maybe the
aviation
Wyoming,
is the
yeah.
most important thing, we should
Yeah, like most of them are just either museum pieces or like they're at their end of life. They're probably gonna be decommissioned soon-ish. TM high. I state that, who knows, we might have a battleship in production, we just don't know about it.
probably have a branch of the military exclusively dedicated to aviation. The Army Air Corps should split off from the Army, become its own thing, the Air Force, and it is in charge of all aviation for every branch. As we know, it doesn't really play out that way, because the Army still has planes and helicopters, and the Navy still has fighter pilots and planes and helicopters, and there's the Air Force on top of that. But this is the conversation going on at the time. And because of that, the conversation turns into, okay, every branch has their one thing.
Let's end right in our,
The
okay.
Air Force has planes, and the Army is in control of ground warfare. The problem is, where does that leave the Marine Corps? It doesn't, and that's how the conversation comes.
Oh, that meme will never get old. It never will. I might not like Pulp Fiction's an okay movie, but that meme will never get old.
Kind of devolves into maybe we should get rid of the Marine Corps. And while that is a horribly stupid idea, that's what they're talking about. So in May of 1946, the United States Senate is heavily considering slashing the Marine Corps' budget and downsizing the entire Corps, essentially getting the ball rolling on abolishing the Marine Corps entirely. And on May 6th of 1946, General Vandegrift, the Commandant of the Marine Corps, is scheduled to give a speech in front of the Senate to basically
Z's active in the Navy as well, and Z's a streaker. Streaking 95 stream streak. Let's go, Z.
Advocate for not getting rid of the United States Marine Corps and explain to all these politicians why it is such a horrible idea. But before he has the opportunity to do so, fate would step in and prove his point for him. May 2nd, 1946, there was an inmate at Alcatraz by the name of Bernard Coy, who's currently serving 26 years for bank robbery. His psychiatric evaluation describes him as, and I quote, in possession of superior intelligence, is prison-wise, reckless, impulsive, and erratic. Despite that,
That sounds like a recipe for disaster. Foreshadowing? Foster, thanks for giving saying happy birthday to the pufferfish Pat. By the way, Pat, Happy and I were talking about it because my birthday is literally next Wednesday, so. Or Marie. Yeah. That's true too. Well, no, it doesn't say he likes eating crayons.
has somehow managed to obtain a job as a prison orderly, which basically means that he's given free roam around the cell block and he delivers mail and other things to the other inmates and just helps the guards do whatever they need to do. Utilizing
like
his
a
freedom of movement,
politician,
he has conspired with other inmates and hatched a plan to escape. And one of
That's 100% a politician. Walking around and conspiring with other inmates to plan. Yeah, that's one. Or a damn good Marine, yeah.
One of his co-conspirators is a guy that has a job working in the kitchen by the name of Marvin Hubbard, who is serving a 99-year sentence for kidnapping, grand theft auto, and according to his official documentation, has an IQ of 65, which is a very polite way of saying
You're retarded.
Ken, I know what you're thinking. Why on earth would Bernard Coy, the criminal mastermind, want to team up with the moron in the kitchen that's barely qualified to make instant mashed potatoes to help him break out of prison? It doesn't make any sense. And at a glance, you're right. Okay, what you got to realize is we're talking about breaking out of Alcatraz. Nobody has ever managed to pull this off, and the only people willing to
And no one at this time, no one had pulled it off, because it's not until the 60s that we have official, like, successful prison breaks.
try are people that occupy the far ends of the bell curve. You're either highly intelligent and have a massive ego, and that's why you think you can pull this off, or you're over here licking windows for taste and you think that anything's possible because you're kind of fucking stupid. Hey, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, Hubbard was probably not Coy's first draft pick, but it was the only guy that would take the job. His third and final co-conspirator, on the other hand, is a guy by the name of Joe Kretzner, who has a massive criminal rap sheet that would ultimately culminate in him forming the Kretzner gang and would see him going around the country robbing banks, where he would ultimately wind up as public enemy number 4 with the FBI, which was that day's equivalent of the number 4 most wanted man in the country. After being captured, he was put in a different prison. He would ultimately escape from that prison for 3 days before being recaptured, and then while going through the court process for breaking out of prison, he would try to escape again, killing a federal marshal in the process, finally landing him at Alcatraz.
So, pretty much one of those cases where he got multiple life sentences. Meaning when you die and you're reborn, you have to continue to serve, motherfucker.
Yeah, these are the 3 guys that started everything. I was actually able to track down some footage of all 3 of these guys on May 4th, 1946. Roll the tape.
This was Bernard Paul Coy, Kentucky bank robber.
Was?
Tennessee kidnapper Marvin Franklin Hubbard is also taken to the city morgue. Joseph Paul Kreitzer, California killer, reportedly the brains behind the attempted jailbreak.
This Windows tastes like glass cleaner, but this one tastes like this. Yeah, that's pretty much what, 65 IQ, that's pretty much what you're saying. Yeah. Oh.
All right, May 2nd, 1946, Coy is currently roaming around the cell block working as an orderly, and Hubbard is working inside the kitchen, and Coy is waiting for Hubbard to come out.
Once knew a guy who had an IQ, a 180 IQ. Make dumber people sub-70s. What that means. I think it's one of those, like, you were intelligent enough that he's like, okay, I don't have to be dumb around you and I can be myself, versus, like, there's a lot of people you just sit there and you're like, I have to dumb down myself just to It could have been that too. You could have just been a fun guy to be around. Yeah, book smart doesn't mean common sense smart either. That is true too.
Out of the kitchen when he's done doing whatever he's doing in there, because Coy and Hubbard both know that whenever they leave the kitchen, he has to get searched to make sure he's not trying to steal anything or like bring a knife or something out of the kitchen. While Hubbard is getting searched by the guard, Coy attacks the guard from behind. They both jump the guard and beat him unconscious, taking his keys. Now from here, they get the keys, they go let Joe Kretzner out, and then Hubbard and Kretzner lift Coy up to the gun gallery, which is covered by bars because they need to keep it safe, because that's where all the guns are. But Coy's been planning this for months, and he has been starving himself the entire time. He also has acquired grease and made a homemade bar spreader out of a nut, a bolt, and a couple other pieces of metal. He manages to grease himself up and spread these bars apart just enough to slip his body through into an area that no convict should be able to get into. So because he...
That's pretty fucking smart. That's... Granted, you're starving yourself, so you're going to be malnourished, so you're going to be dealing with other issues. Unless you're, like, starving yourself in a way where you're purposely losing body weight, but you're keeping yourself at least healthy enough to not feel malnourished, which would require you only taking in, like, 750 calories and trying to not burn more than 1,500. That would be the equivalent, but they wouldn't have had that kind of knowledge, so it would have been like you eat like a piece of bread a day and some water and you make that last the entire day type thing. And by the way,
now has the element of surprise. He's very easily able to ambush a guard, knocking him out. He then takes his 30-06 rifle, his Colt 1911, and his club. He drops the 1911 and the club down to his accomplices and continues through the gun gallery with his rifle. Utilizing the gun gallery, he makes his way over to D Block, which is not the normal part of Alcatraz. D Block is cordoned off with extra security. This is like the maximum security portion where the worst of the worst guys go, and they're all on solitary confinement. He gets the guards in
D Block is solitary. Got it. Okay.
D Block at gunpoint, forces them to open the door between D Block and the rest of the prison and let his accomplices in. They then take all 6 guards and move them into an empty cell in C Block and lock them up. C Block is empty right now because all the inmates that are supposed to be in those cells are outside in the rec yard. They then attempt to release everybody in D Block to help them with this getaway. Remember, these are the guys that are in prison and are getting punished on top of being in prison and placed in solitary confinement. Presumably, they're the worst of the worst, and the vast majority of them are like, no thank you, I'm good. And they
Yeah, probably some nowadays you'd find the people who game-ended PDF files in there, which they shouldn't be in solitary. They're doing the world service. Okay.
stay in their cell. Like I said, bell curve. You have to have a delusional amount of self-confidence or be a fucking idiot to think you can pull this off. But apparently at least 3 of the convicts in D Block fall into those categories because 3 people
I get
do
that.
join them. We've got
I feel that.
Thompson, who has
Supernatural.
8 previous successful jail and prison escapes on his rap sheet. Then we've got Clarence Carnes, who has 1 successful escape attempt on his rap sheet. And finally, we have Sam Shockley, who, as far as I can tell, is just a fucking psychopath.
He looks like a psychopath. Like Nick said, psychopath. I'm just sitting there. I'm like, this man looks like what a real life Hannibal Lecter would look like. Like very calm demeanor, like willing to just do whatever it takes, and is like would murder countless amounts of people. And probably cook them alive, but that's besides the point. I know, right?
Okay,
Ooh,
everything
this
is
one,
going
yes.
perfect. It's going
I haven't
according to plan.
watched
We've
this
got
one yet,
6
so.
convicts. We've got 6 guards. We're going to take their uniforms. The convicts are going to put the uniforms on. Then we're going to take the keys, which we already have, use that to open up the door to the rec yard. We're going to take the guards out at gunpoint and force the rest of the guards
After
to let us
climbing
out. And then we're going to make our way down to the dock.
Exactly.
Where there is a resupply
Hollister.
ship for Alcatraz that is there every day at 2 p.m. We're going to commandeer that ship with our hostages.
That's some
and
good
then
shit,
we're gonna
yeah.
sail
Oh,
it across
no.
that 2-mile gap over to San Francisco, and then we're home free. And that's the plan. So they get the guards' uniforms on, then they go over to the door, they figure out which key works, they go through all the keys. None of the keys open this fucking door. As fate would have it, the guard that they knocked out first, the one with the keys, the one that
Making
was
fun of
completely
idiots. You know, I
ambushed
get that.
and had no idea that this was coming, for some reason, he didn't like having that particular key with the rest of his keys, and he kept it in the breast pocket of his uniform. And there was a period of time where he was in the cell in his uniform before they came back and took their uniforms. So he had taken the key and hid it inside the toilet. So the convicts go back to the guards in the cell. We don't know what happens.
That's smart. That's very smart.
They might have beat him up to get it, or the guards might have just handed it over because they knew the convicts were already fucked. Regardless, the convicts get the key that they need. They go back to the door. The key won't work. God damn it! It's a security door. If you use the
Have I ever heard of Yarn Hub? No, and I'm afraid to ever look. I'm afraid to look. What the hell is Yarn Hub? It sounds dirty, but it's also yarn, so how can it? Never mind.
the wrong key a single time, it jams the door, and then you have to have special equipment.
An animation
maintenance, and
channel?
everything
Oh.
to come fix the door. The door's not coming open. They're fucked. Okay, plan B. Coy goes over to one of the windows from the gun gallery and takes
Oh, I'll have to check them out. So they're an animation channel that covers military actions and history. Okay. Exactly. Correct. So I was seeing them like Yarna. No, it's not that kind of pub, okay?
first aim at the guards inside the watchtower overlooking the yard and starts shooting at them. Now he misses, but it doesn't really matter because presumably he wasn't even trying to hit the guard. He just wants all the rest of the guards that aren't under his control to know that they're trying to escape, because now they got to come in here to stop him. And
Wait, F-16's amazing. All right, I'm gonna have to check it out. I'll pull up I'll have to pull up Yarn Hub at some point in time. So I'll have to check them out.
the only way to do that is to open the main door. So if they come in guns blazing, open the main door, and he can kill them first, he still gets to escape.
Let's see if it pays off for him.
From here, the convicts go. They get posted up by the main door, getting ready for this firefight. Sure enough, the guards come in, guns blazing. They walk right into this ambush. One guard is...
I don't blame you, Kura. I don't blame you. Trust me. Again and again. All right.
killed, 5 more are wounded, and they are forced to retreat, but they manage to shut the doors behind them, so now the convicts are still trapped. At this point, they realize they're totally screwed. Up until this point, they were just trying to escape. Yeah, they knocked out a guard, but everybody's still alive, everybody's still breathing. Now, they've killed at least 1 guard and wounded 5 more. Now, if they don't somehow escape, they're either going to get the death penalty or they're going to spend the rest of their life here on Alcatraz, and the guards are going to make sure their lives are a living hell because they just killed at least 1 of their buddies. So now they're all starting to panic. Joe Kretzner, the hardcore gangster, America's public enemy number 4, grabs the pistol, goes over to the cell block with the guards, and starts shooting all of the guards because he doesn't want any witnesses to be able to testify against him in court. 1 of them is killed, the other 5 are hit, and then proceed to play dead. Seeing this, the other 3 convicts that were not part of the original plan, the 3 that join, Carnes, Thompson, and Shockley, are like, fuck this, I'm out. They go back to their cells, lock them in, and their plan is to be like, nope, I stayed in my cell the entire time. I was never involved. Please don't punish me too. And while
all right, yeah, we're gonna break out of prison. Sweet. All right, let's go. Shoot 6 guards. Nope. Fuck this shit. I'm out. You totally. Yeah, he's total fuck ups with more. Yeah. Well, I'm going to get the death penalty anyways. Might as well take more people with me. All right, whatever.
That's going on. The warden of Alcatraz, after hearing that his initial attack against the convicts had failed, has sent out a call to the U.S. government.
The Marines.
So the United States government gets a call from the warden, and remember, the U.S. government is on some bullshit right now. They think the Air Force should only have planes, the Navy should only have boats, and all the ground warfare should go to the Army, so they kick this over to the Army instead of the Marine Corps, even though it's an island and they're launching an invasion on an island. But whatever, they kick it over to the Army.
Are you sure this water's sanitary? It looks questionable to me.
In their defense, though, if you were going to give it to the Army, they did give it to probably the 2 best guys that you could give this task to, because they gave it to the 2 generals with probably the most guerrilla warfare experience in all of World War II. That being Vinegar Joe Stillwell and his right-hand guy, General Frank Merrill, as in, like, Merrill's Marauders, Frank Merrill. Which, if you don't know, we talked about these guys in my last video. Logan Weston, the fighting preacher, was part of Merrill's Marauders. Basically, it was 3,000
Which I will get to that one
volunteers that
eventually.
went
I don't
into
know when.
India and then proceeded to march from India into Burma, like 1,250 miles, and conducted guerrilla warfare operations against Imperial Japan for 7 months straight, living in the jungle the entire time with no assets other than getting supplies airdropped to them. Okay, if you're not picking up on a button down, if anybody knows how to handle an irregular situation, it's General Merrill, and he's now in charge. And he's got himself in an irregular situation right out of the gate, because if he sends US soldiers into Alcatraz, he could probably wind up getting arrested and thrown in prison for the rest of his life, because you could argue that this violates US Code 1385, also referred to as the Posse Comitatus Act.
Excuse
This
me?
is what you hear about anytime there's like riots or anything.
Oh, they
going on in the world,
screwed,
and you're
yeah.
wondering why the president or the government isn't sending in the Marines and the National Guard to quell the riots. They always bring up this act because it's illegal. The only way the government can legally send in troops on federal orders to control the civilian
Yeah, I saw all those
population
medals.
is if they
That
have
is
an
ridiculous
act
amount of
of
medals.
Congress, which is going to take a while, doesn't really apply to this situation, or the governor of that state specifically requests it, which again is a government function that's going to take forever, and we don't have time for that shit right now. So Joe Stillwell and Frank Merrill's asses are quite literally on the line. If they mess this up and it goes sideways and the
yeah, it
government
does.
needs a scapegoat, they're probably going to throw these guys in jail for saying that
Yeah, most of these guys were like, just got back from war. They're all fucking. They they've murdered men with their own bare hands and have no qualms about killing pieces of shit. You know, they really don't give a fuck.
That they violated this act, so the government doesn't take any heat for it. So whatever they decide to do, it's very important they follow the letter of the law exactly. And in order to do that, you got to read the law. So let's go ahead and do that. U.S. Code 1385. Whoever, except in cases under circumstances expressly authorized by the Constitution or an act of Congress, willfully uses any part of the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Air Force, or the Space Force as a posse comitatus or otherwise to execute the laws shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 2 years or both. So that's pretty much it. Case closed. In 2026, you can't use any branch of the United States.
Why are you wearing all your medals in question? The medals in question? Oh, never mind. Carry on. Yeah, exactly.
States military to conduct police actions unless you have like an act of Congress, which is going to take forever. But this isn't 2026, this is 1946, and that law has been rewritten a couple of times since then, probably in part because of what happens next. Because in 1946, when Frank Merrill pulls up the letter of the law, here's what that act actually says. Quote, from and after the passage of this act, it shall not be lawful to employ any part of the Army of the United States as a posse comitatus or otherwise for the purpose of executing the laws, except in such cases and under such circumstances as such employment of said force may be expressly authorized by the Constitution or by an act of Congress. Okay, translation, he can't send in the U.S. Army. It don't say shit about the Marine Corps, okay? We're gonna follow the law to the letter, ladies and gentlemen.
That's a loophole. Says the Army, doesn't say the Marines. Technically also doesn't say the Navy either, so there's that too. So I'm just saying, letter of the law states.
We have a loophole. General Frank Merrill, the guerrilla warfare expert, is literally going to use the Air Bud legal defense to send in the United States Marine Corps to take out a bunch of convicts.
The Air Bud legal defense.
The Marines are nicknamed devil dogs makes that even funnier.
Ain't no rules said the dog can't play basketball. This is a joke.
Now, is that in accordance with the spirit of the law?
Yeah, Coast Guard gets weird because Coast Guard is its own branch, but is not a military service. Is closer to akin to the National Guard, which is a state by state military connection, or military grouping, but they're not. They fall under essentially whatever jurisdiction that they would be. Like the Coast Guard would technically fall under Navy, where like the National Guard usually falls under Army. They're like a subsect. It's weird. That's where it gets like weird. Department of Homeland. Okay, Coast Guard is Department of Homeland. Thanks, Z. I can't remember that one. So yeah, it operates under a separate title, but is part of the Department of Homeland. So that makes a little more sense. So it technically, I don't think it would fall under that law specifically, but it's probably got another random law. It's bureaucratic BS. Yeah, they're DHS. Yep, the more you know. Bum, bum, bum.
Absolutely not. But is it to the letter of the law? Yes. Yes, it is. If you're the first one to do it, it can't be illegal yet. It's never a war crime the first time. Them's the rules. So General Merrill presumably calls up the Marine Corps and is like, hey, I need a bunch of Marines to break into a prison on Alcatraz and take out some armed convicts. And the Marine Corps is like, I've got the perfect guys.
Oh, no.
May 3rd, 1946 at 6 p.m., an assault boat full of
you should. I need to get that too.
86 guys rolls up to Alcatraz. These Marines have just got back home to America from Guam, where for the
provisions that in time of war or national emergency, the president can move, DHS or the Department of Homeland Security or the Department of Defense or Department of War, depending on what action is required and what is the reasoning. So it's like also why, like, I think for the longest time, the Marines could be sent into any situation without approval of Congress as long as the president okayed it. I think that changed, what, like 90s? Like right after Desert Storm, it finally got switched around, but for like the longest time, the president could just sit there and go, yeah, I'm just deploying the Marines over here. And Congress would be like, fuck, okay, I guess, all right, he can do that. Just an armchair moron. Yeah, I don't know 100% either. So I'm just, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. But I don't know. It might have changed or it might be limited, but he still has like power to just send them out and into conflicts whenever without approval. I know that like he can execute a military operation as long as he informs Congress within 48 hours of the military conduct. What we did with Venezuela's president, dictator, with Maduro, we just yoinked the president. Just saying.
The past 6 months, they have been on the island of Guam going into fortified enemy bunkers of Japanese soldiers that refuse to surrender and clearing them out. Imperial Japanese soldiers inside of a bunker, convicts inside of a prison, potato, potato. It's basically the same thing. And the Marines are showing up ready to party. In addition to their normal kit, you know, rifles and pistols, they've also brought flamethrowers, mortars, bazookas.
How to make friends and terrify your enemies in one fell swoop. Yeah, I know, right?
Machine guns, a shit ton of grenades, rifle grenades, and shape charges, aka bunker busting bombs. And if that wasn't enough, they're being led by a Marine by the name of Charles Buckner, who just got a Silver Star in Guam for repelling an enemy ambush. The next day, an enemy field piece was opening fire on his men, so he took a machine gun out and got rid of it by himself. And then the day after that, he got shot by enemy sniper fire and refused to be evacuated until he was ordered to do so by his superiors. Doesn't sound like the guy you want to be fucking with.
No,
So
that's someone you don't want to fuck with.
Here's Johnny.
Oh no, that got eaten. No, I didn't get to read it. Ah, that got eaten. Sorry, Supernatural. I got eaten.
Charles Buckner immediately goes, finds the warden, and is like, all right, what's the plan? Where are the bad guys? What are we doing? The warden briefs Buckner on the situation. Buckner's like, okay, I need to know where they're at, and I need blueprints of the prison.
Apparently YouTube did not like
what do
that.
you need my guys doing? What else do you need help with? And the warden is like, well, we've got 140 convicts that are stuck outside in the yard because they were out there when the prison got taken over, and we're just kind of watching over them. They've been out there all day yesterday and all this morning. We could use some guys out there helping watch these guys. Buckner is like, all right, go ahead, take care of it, boys. The Marines run out to the yard, you know, they get up on the perches around this wreck yard.
YouTube doesn't like long
with
comments.
their guns just looking down at all these convicts. And the convicts, you know, they're thugs, they're hardened criminals. They think they're tough because they robbed a bank with a Tommy gun. And they're looking up at these Marines who are all presumably 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old kids. And they start talking shit. Now, this is based.
Today, we're going to learn about how much you can fuck around and how much you will find out. And they're fucking around really hard. Oh.
The recollection of the guards and the Marines that were later interviewed, but supposedly one of the convicts yelled up, oh, look, we've got some soldier boys here. I'm so scared. Fuck you guys.
Hi. So today's lesson, we're going to talk about a different phenomena on this graph here that I think that you need to be aware of.
At which point, all of the Marines in unison, without a word being spoken, flicked the safeties off of their rifles and pointed them down at the convicts, and the corporal in charge replied, give me an excuse to blow one of your guys' fucking heads off. The convicts got real quiet and cooperative after that.
Yeah, that's a good way of, hey, fuck you. Click. What was that? I couldn't hear you. What, you want to repeat that? You're right. I'm an asshole. I'm sorry.
Oh, fuck.
And while all this is going on, Buckner's getting brought up to speed.
give them a
the
reason.
situation is more complicated than he originally thought. This is not simply a smash through the bunker, kill the bad guys type scenario that he's used to. This is a hostage rescue situation because there's guards in there that presumably might still be alive. So we can't just start blowing stuff up. So we got to come up with a plan to get in there, rescue the guards. So that night they kill.
Like, I'm gonna go over here and rethink. Yeah, I'm in prison. I thought it was gonna be tough. Yeah, that was a bad choice. Oh, Bubba's gonna beat the shit out of me later when we get back in. When we get back into the prison. Oh, I'm gonna get shanked. Oh, this is gonna be bad. I fucked up. Everyone's giving pufferfish cats some birthday wishes, which I love. Love seeing that.
The power to the
Make it
prison,
feel
so it is
special.
pitch black in there. Then with flashlights, guards and Marines storm the East Gun Gallery and they take it. Now the East Gun Gallery only covers the main cell blocks A, B, and C. It does not cover D block. They don't see any armed convicts or a riot going on, so they come to the conclusion that all the perpetrators must be held up in D block. And now with the East Gun Gallery under their control, they have the high ground, they have machine guns, they're going to be able to provide covering fire and superior firing positions if a firefight does break out, so they feel pretty confident sending some guards in there on a rescue mission to search the main cell block looking for the hostages. The guards go in under the cover of the Marines, they manage to find the 5 wounded guards, and they get them evacuated. So that's
And the
great.
one dead
By
guard.
the next morning, things have just gotten way simpler for Buckner and the Marines because now there's no hostages in the situation, and they have a rough idea of where the perpetrators are holed up, inside of D block. Now at this point, some of the higher ranking guards are pretty pissed off that the Marines are there at all. It kind of makes them look bad, like, oh, you can't handle the situation, you can't do your job. So they're all in their feelings about it, and they're requesting the warden lets the guards go in there with guns and take out the convicts. The warden, on the other hand, doesn't really care about the guards' feelings. He doesn't want anybody else to get hurt, so he goes to Buckner and is like, okay, maybe if we let them know that the Marines are here or that we have superior fire.
I know. I'm in here. I didn't sign up for this shit. They're all sitting there like, I'm in here. Solitary. Can't interact with anyone. These fuckers just want peace. They don't want to deal with people. I'm happy in myself. Fuckers are just. Oh, if they don't kill these fuckers, then I'm gonna spend another like week in the hole, but that's fine. That's what they're thinking. A few of them are probably sitting there like, can I make a shiv out of anything right now?
Firepower, that's going to scare them and we can convince them to surrender. So from here, the Marines go, they capture the West Gun Gallery, they kind of open fire in the cell block, just letting them know like, hey, we have machine guns, we have Marines, we have superior firepower, you're not getting out of this. And then they come around with a megaphone and are like, you know, hey, you should surrender now. Give up your guns. This shit is over. And Coy responds back, come get us, motherfucker.
What a stupid son of a bitch.
At this point, the warden just kind of looks over at Buckner and is like, do your thing. Buckner pulls everybody out of the West Gun Gallery. The East Gun Gallery is going to be protected by that wall because it's not in part of D block, and D block is completely cordoned off because it's the isolation unit. From here, remember, Buckner's been studying the blueprints this entire time. He knows where everything is inside of this prison. He has his Marines go up on the roof of D block and drop tear gas grenades down into the ventilation system to pump tear gas into all of D block. Then he has the Marines.
Oh yeah, those guys that are stuck in solitary are like, these fuckers, if these guys are alive when I get out, they're not going to be, or they're going to wish they had been killed, because I am going to, I feel bad for those, the solitary confinement guys that didn't want anything to do with it, and now they're in the middle of this shit going, I get it, I'm a horrible person. I didn't sign up for this shit. I didn't even want to be part of this. And now I'm getting tear gas. Oh, please. Oh, please. Please be murdered by these. Actually, no. Don't be murdered by these Marines. Please survive, because I want a piece of you now. Like, I'm not with them. Yeah, we're not with. We're not with. It's going to get worse,
setting up
yeah.
bazookas, and they're going to fire bazookas through the windows into D block. At which point, the warden, being an epic party pooper, steps in and is like, that's too much. No bazookas. And Buckner's like, fine, we won't use bazookas. The warden fucks off. Buckner then immediately turns around to his guys, is like, set up the mortars. But sir, didn't the warden just say no explosions? No, the warden said no bazookas. He didn't say shit about mortars. This entire mission is malicious compliance. Now hurry up and get the mortars set up before he comes back. So D block.
All right, we're gonna blow up D block. Don't worry, we got this. No bazookas. Oh, get the mortars. Yay.
Already presumably full of tear gas, and everybody's having a bad time, and then the Marines start shelling D block through the windows. They're shooting rifle grenades, they're shooting machine guns into the windows, doing anything and everything they can to be as annoying as possible. Most of it is completely ineffective fire. It's going right through the window and hitting a massive concrete wall. It's not doing anything other than just the constant concussion of explosions and noise while the guys are in there breathing tear gas. It just sucks. So
AKA, they're breathing tear gas, so they're coughing up. They can't keep their mouths closed, because if they keep their mouths closed as the impact hits the wall, even though it's not hitting them, that explosion is a concussive force going through the wall, and that can blow out their eardrums. So they have to keep their mouths open the entire time. Unleash the mortars. And then furthermore, after with all that, you've got tear gas, you've got indirect loud noises. These two are just like probably hating life, and everyone else that's in D block that's not part of this is like, I'm gonna murder them. If they don't get killed by these Marines, I'm going to murder them.
why on earth are they doing it if they know it's not going to solve the problem? Well, it's going to persuade the convicts
the story
to
of loopholes are all around. Yeah, seriously.
D-block, there's really only one place they could go because they know that they have control of the East Gun Gallery at this point, and there's only one place to hide that isn't D-block and isn't in the main cell block, and it's in one of the utility corridors in C block. So Buckner is betting on the fact that these guys are going to evacuate D block, and they're going to have to run straight to this utility corridor, dodging bullets the entire time. And then once they get into that utility corridor, they're safe. They're effectively inside of a concrete bunker. The only way in is through the door on the main cell block, and that door leads into basically what amounts to a concrete hallway, and they're going to be standing at the end of it with their guns pointed at that door, and anybody that comes through there is going to get shot. They have a
That's smart, except for this is the Marines, and these are Marines that just got done dealing with Japanese on Guam. Oh, this is going to go. Like, we already got the spoiler of they don't survive this, but thank you for that miscreant, because it is. Thanks for that. That was perfectly timed. Thank you for that, miscreant.
a very narrow choke point. It's a terrific fighting position. It's exactly what anybody that was smart would do. The convicts are going to turn this into their own little miniature Battle of Thermopylae.
From there, we will funnel them into the mountain pass we call the Hot Gates.
The plan works like a charm. Eventually, the convicts decide they got to get the fuck out of D block. They immediately run to the...
Yeah, I wonder how they're going to do this. I wonder. But yeah, we already know that they're not surviving this, so how do we get to that point? It's going to be bad.
Nearest cell block
How are
C,
you doing, Miscreant? Hopefully you're doing well.
Corridor, the only place that's safe. Presumably, the guys in the East Gun Gallery see them run into that utility corridor and notify Buckner. So the plan worked, which raises a question. Why on earth is this the plan? Why would you intentionally force your enemy into the most fortified, defendable position possible before you go and try to take them out? Because now, presumably, the only way to go in there and kill these guys is to walk right into the narrow choke point that they're pointing guns at, and some of your guys are going to wind up getting killed. Which is why Buckner has an alternative plan. You gotta remember, this guy just got back from Guam and his entire job was killing Japanese soldiers inside of bunkers, okay? If you're not picking up what I'm putting down, this guy has had time to develop and refine some very creative ways to kill the enemy. Once Buckner gets word that his plan worked and they're in the utility corridor, he orders his guys to quit the mortar fire, but keep some suppressing fire from the machine guns going into D block, just so they don't double back. He then grabs a bunch of Marines, tells them to grab all the grenades and rifle grenades that we have, and heads up to the roof.
Wait. What I said was, give me all the bacon and eggs you have.
Now, as you can see from the map, the C block utility corridor pretty much runs the length of C block, which is basically the length of the prison. So once they get up on the roof, they measure out where this utility corridor is approximately at, and then they proceed to beat, drill, and chisel 5 holes running the length of this C block utility corridor. They then proceed to grab rifle grenades, put them on their rifles, shove their rifles into the hole, and fire the grenades. And then they keep doing that, firing at all different angles, making sure they cover every square inch of this utility corridor. And they do this until they run out of rifle grenades. Now, are the
I can see it. All right, we're in this corridor. We got this. They open that door. We can just shoot them. It's fine. We've got this advantage. We got this advantage. It's kind of dark in here. Yeah, it's fine. But as soon as that door opens, we'll have some good lighting. We'll be able to see them. Why am I seeing the sun on my hand? Shit. I told you it'd get worse. Yeah. And the Marines are just sitting there shooting rifle grenades at different. I'm pretty sure it was. Light. Why do I see light?
Convicts dead at this point? Almost certainly. Are the Marines gonna stop? Absolutely not. Now, why would they do that? Well, if I had to bet, I would say the official excuse is gonna be, we wanted to make sure we were thorough. We wanted to make sure we got the job done. In reality, I've been around grunts long enough to know exactly what went through their head, and that thought was, I'm not about to carry 500 frag grenades back down from the roof. We're using these bitches, so I don't have to carry them back and turn them back in at base. From here, the Marines proceed to...
I also just believe in there's no kill like overkill. So, have at it, boys. They ain't sunlight that's the gates I'm having close to you. That's great. I brought these. I'm using all of them exactly.
To lower frag grenades down the holes on wires with strings connected to the pins, and once they lower it down far enough, they yank the string, pull the pin, so it's an air burst, and you get a full 360 explosion instead of it just detonating on the ground. Which is hilarious, because like I already said, the convicts are probably already dead, but if they're not, they're just looking up at these holes with grenades getting lowered right on top of them like... So that goes on for a little while, then they just start pitching grenades down these holes until they run out. And then they throw the shape charges and pretty much every other piece of explosive ordnance they have down the holes as well, because, well, you know, I don't want to carry that shit back with me. And earlier when I said 500 grenades, I was not exaggerating. They literally put 500 grenades into that utility corridor. Is that overkill? Absolutely. But you know what? Overkill is underrated. They went up there, they killed the bad guys, they made the world a better place, and now they're back.
Yeah, it's C block. The utility corridor of C block is no longer going to exist. I need that shirt. Overkill is underrated. Cease to exist, exactly.
Pack is a little bit lighter for the journey home. Everybody wins. From here, Buckner goes back, has another little meeting with the warden. Warden basically comes out and asks him, are they dead? And Buckner, I'm paraphrasing here, responds with, if there's any convicts left, they're definitely corpses.
I'm pretty tired. I think I'll go home now.
And then Buckner grabs all his stuff, grabs his Marines, they board the assault boat, and they leave. Then the guards grab their guns, they go into the main cell block, and the entire prison is flooded. There is water and sewage everywhere. Gotta remember, the Marines just blew up the utility corridor. That's where all the water pipes and all the sewage pipes and all the electrical and all the important infrastructure stuff for the prison is located. So presumably, that's all junk now. There's both literal and metaphorical shit everywhere. They make their way to the utility corridor. They don't really know what happened, so they open the door and they just open fire into this corridor for a little while. Then they wait. There's no return fire. Okay, These guys must be dead. They find what's left of the 3 remaining convicts, and that is the end of the Battle of Alcatraz.
What is left? So that's why they were carried off completely covered, because they had an arm here, a leg here, a foot here. They probably had to piece them all together. Let's just make it look like it's still a body while we carry them out, so people don't think that it was cruel. I mean, they're convicts. Yeah, but let's make it look like there's at least a body. I don't think this foot goes with this body. It doesn't matter. Dude, that's a way bigger foot than this foot. Find the other one that's relatively close to it. Be careful, Kara.
Obviously, there's a lot of interviews and interrogations that went on afterwards, trying to figure out everything that happened. And during those interviews and interrogations, the other 3 men that did participate to some degree in this riot were found out, and 2 of them, Thompson and Shockley, both received the death penalty. Clarence Carnes, on the other hand, managed to avoid the death penalty because some of the guards that were shot inside that cell did testify that Clarence Carnes tried to prevent Kretzner from shooting them, so he managed to avoid the death penalty because of that. He did, however, spend the rest of his life in prison until he passed away in 1988 from AIDS. How you get AIDS while you're in prison, I have no idea.
I may not have a brain, gentlemen, but I have.
He had a unfortunate crossing with a butt pirate.
Have an idea.
Other interesting trivia fact is that the most famous Alcatraz escape was in 1962. This is the one that the movie Escape from Alcatraz is based on. And both in real life and in the movie, the convicts managed to escape their cells by digging through weakened concrete, and it is believed that that concrete was weakened because of all of the water damage caused by the Marines and their grenades.
Oops.
Did I do that?
Now, where does this leave the Marine Corps as far as are they going to get disbanded or defunded? Well, the Battle of Alcatraz lasted from May 2nd to May 4th of 1946. And like I already said at the beginning of the video, General Vandegrift, the Commandant of the Marine Corps at the time, is already set to testify in front of the Senate in 2 days on May 6th. And on May 6th, when he steps into that Senate hearing, Marines take over Alcatraz from armed convicts is on the front page of every newspaper in America. He has all the positive PR he could ever ask for. And with that, the United States Marine Corps solidifies and reaffirms its place and its belonging in the United States military, and that is a story of the Battle of Alcatraz when they called in the Marines to take care of a prison riot. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch, maybe drink some Echelon. Links to both of those over at thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang, out. Unpopular opinion, this story deserves a movie way more than the 1962 Escape does.
Yeah, that does. It does. I could just see it too. You have it done. I know exactly how to do the movie too. You start the movie off. You follow like a little bit of one of the convicts as he finishes his trial and gets sent to Alcatraz, and you follow the prisoners the entire time. But you don't make the prisoners look like the good guys, like people would nowadays would make the movie. Oh, well, they were just misunderstood. No. You make them who they were, how they were. You treat them like they are bad people and everything, and you follow it all the way through up into. You see the one guy pull out the pistol, and he shoots the 6 guards. And then he turns, he's like, we're in it now. And then you just cut and you go right to the Marines. So your halfway point is right there. And then you pick up, starting with the Marines, and you go from there. And just that ending scene where it kind of splits between the two. And you just start watching the rain of grenades. Or like, we've got this in the rain. You see the first grenade drop down and explode. And they go, and then it just. You shower that scene with like the grenade fire and the Marines up top. Yeah. Worst of the worst were sent to Alcatraz for reasons.